Today in crypto, Bitcoin's price just remains stuck in a state of limbo. Big Matic updates, bullish data from Glassnode, Russia's crypto community is fighting back, and the powder keg of economic and racial injustice in America is exploding. The cryptolark, this is where you subscribe for all of the hottest and all of the latest happening out here in the wild, wild land of crypto. So let's get into the charts to get started off with today. And really, not too much has been happening with Bitcoin over the weekend. Ether had a good weekend, but Bitcoin, it has just been chilling, still in this triangle we were looking at last week, with the current price of Bitcoin hovering around $9,500. Now, we have, of course, just seen another rejection with the price of Bitcoin trying to break out of this pattern, but getting pushed back down. Now, that could lead us to test the lower end of this triangle around $9,000 in the coming days. Now, if this triangle does actually end up breaking to the upside, it could move us beyond that really tough resistance at $10,500. And if we do break that, then we are setting up a new macro trend for Bitcoin, as it will move us really beyond the two most important areas of resistance for Bitcoin that it's seen over the last year. Now, if the triangle breaks to the downside, then watch for a test of the 200-day moving average around $8,000. As long as we hold above that key moving average, and the bulls are still in charge of the market. Now, it may take this pattern up to another 2 weeks to actually play out, but there is a good chance that we can see this pattern actually acting as a continuation pattern that leads the price of Bitcoin higher. Now, taking a look at the higher time frames, we have just had a bullish MACD crossover that happened on the monthly charts. This has historically had a rather high rate of accuracy in terms of calling the start of a new bull cycle in the market. But of course, let's just see how June plays out to see what kind of momentum is really building up here for those higher time frames. And then that moves us on to the Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index, which is currently at 50. And honestly, I think this is such a great reflection of the sentiment in the market right now. We're just stuck in a state of limbo. The price is not bearish enough. The indicators are not bearish enough to drive any real fear in the market yet. And at the same time, we're not really super bullish enough to just unleash the bullish energy into the market. Remember, breaking the 200-day moving average on the downward side around $8,000 is going to drive the bears and the fear in the market. Breaking 10,500 is going to drive the bulls in the greed. Until we see either of those things happen, we're chilling, guys. We're chilling. We're stacking. We're accumulating. You know the drill. A big thank you to PrimeXBT for sponsoring today's episode. PrimeXBT is the top exchange for trading a wide range of assets beyond just crypto. Yes, you can also trade the top cryptocurrencies, but you can also have access to the top forex in the world, like yen and euros, commodities like oil and gold, even stock indexes like the S&P 500, everything tradable against Bitcoin, which gives you a great range of options for actually being able to trade in the markets using crypto, but not just crypto pairs. And PrimeXBT also does not require any KYC. Now look, trading is not for everyone, and PrimeXBT is only for experienced traders who properly understand how to manage their risk. If that is you, then there is a link down below where you can get signed up and start trading on PrimeXBT today. Okay, now let's go ahead and get into the news. We have some really big news from Matic today. The mainnet is going live. This is super awesome to see. The Matic mainnet will be bringing massive layer 2 scaling to Ethereum today, starting from today, which is a much needed addition to Ethereum. We'll actually wait for ETH 2.0 to be rolled out and slowly take shape, and we all know how slowly that is going. So solutions like Matic and ZK rollups, they are scaling Ethereum here, now, today, which is exactly what is needed for Ethereum at this moment. Also, in other Matic news, top Indian tech firm Infosys, a $40 billion tech company, has joined the Matic network as a validator. Now, this company, in case you're not aware, is an absolute industry giant in the tech world. So seeing them team up with Matic, this is very big news indeed. And it could really open the door for Infosys to go deeper into the Ethereum verse, and also is a great feather in the cap for Matic to have on board. Next up, exchange balances for Bitcoin have reached their lowest point in over a year. Particularly hard hit have been BitMEX, Bitfinex, and Huobi. Since Black Thursday, Huobi has lost 25% of its Bitcoin, BitMEX has lost 35%, and Bitfinex an astonishing 66% outflow of Bitcoin from the exchange. By contrast, Coinbase is actually up by 0.2%, and Binance and Bitstamp, they have had relatively insignificant, tiny percentages of Bitcoin outflow. Now, there's a few things going on here. One, of course, is that this is a sign that people are actually out there buying Bitcoin and moving into their cold storage for long-term holding, which is definitely nice to see. That's a positive long-term trend for Bitcoin. But the second thing, perhaps more interesting, is that some people are really just starting to lose faith in certain cryptocurrency exchanges. I mean, look at BitMEX. BitMEX has failed traders so many times. It is unsurprising that trust is being lost, and actually that's taken this long to really start losing trust in such a big way. And then you have exchanges like Bitfinex, which really have just been steadily losing popularity over time. Some other fascinating data from the guys over at Glassnode: 60% of the Bitcoin supply has not moved in over a year. Now, the last time that we saw this particular level of Bitcoin hodling, this was right back in 2016 before the major bull run kicked off in 2017. Very, very interesting. So many factors right now are pointing upwards for Bitcoin and for the price of Bitcoin. Also, the Bitcoin stock to flow model has now painted its first red dot for this cycle. You can quite clearly see that the last two times we had our first red dot, that it set in motion a series of events that led to prices reaching cycle peaks 12 to 18 months after the first red dot. So this is the first step on that road, and it signals that the time for accumulation, it is coming to a close. Some may not want to believe that, but it's happening. Over in Russia, the local cryptocurrency industry is fighting back against the proposed legislations that would dramatically stifle the cryptocurrency industry across the federation, bringing up points such as stifling the industry would be a massive missed opportunity for tax collection. Also, that this proposed legislation actually contradicts the new policy of the government to digitize the economy, and also that it would even be an abuse of power by the state and that it would go against the constitutional rights of Russian citizens. Hell yeah, guys. I love it. I love it. Super, super cool to see the local community actually fighting back and not taking this proposed bill lying down. Hopefully, the Russian community is actually going to be able to really prevail in their fight to keep crypto alive and well in Russia. We saw big successes from the crypto community in India. Hopefully those successes will be repeated now. Okay, now it's time for the big story of the day. And of course, that has got to be what is going on in the United States right now. So what started with basically a situation of cops murdering a man, this has blown up into a full-scale, countrywide civil unrest of historic proportions. While the roots of this particular situation sparked from racial injustice, economic injustice is just as much to blame here. So this is quickly becoming a movement that's about much more than police violence and is actually becoming something of a reaction to the oppressive system itself. And look, the footage coming out of the United States right now, it's crazy. It's shocking beyond belief. Journalists are being arrested and brutalized by police. Citizens are being routinely beat up by, cops in just full riot gear. Mass civil unrest that is taking place on a scale really not seen in modern America. Entire cities right now are under complete police occupation, enforcing draconian lockdowns. And things will likely get worse before they get better. Decades of crushing and growing economic inequality and a rapacious oligarchy coupled with a completely corrupted political class, they will not offer the solutions to build a better society. They haven't done it in the last 3 or 4 decades. Why would it happen now? And I know some of you prefer that I never mention anything related to politics on this channel, but Bitcoin, it is inherently political. And so many of the problems we see in modern societies, they have their roots in economics. And Bitcoin, It responds to political events. And while, yes, we see out there right now there are looters who are being arrested for breaking into a Target or breaking into an AutoZone, the real looters in America, the oligarchs, they will never be arrested. They will never see a day in jail for their crimes and their theft. And these guys, when they go looting, they don't loot a Target. No. They loot the treasury. They loot you. They loot your family's future, selling you step by step into a system of intergenerational, unpayable debt servitude that you did not agree to. American oligarchs, during this crisis, they have seen their wealth increase by $434 billion since the start of the whole Mexican beer lockdown thing that we saw happen in America. Meanwhile, regular people, they got to fight over the few crumbs that fell off of the banquet table of the ruling class. We just witnessed the biggest wealth transfer in history happen, and it all went in one direction. It went towards the oligarchs and the corporations. While the oligarchs in America and elsewhere, they continue to rig the system in their favor, the rest of the society, it keeps falling further and further behind. 80% of Americans, they had been living paycheck to paycheck before they lost their jobs. Now you have 40 million unemployed people in America. It's crazy. The existing system, it has failed the majority of people. Crony capitalism, it's not working. We have seen people rebel in France and in Chile and in Hong Kong and in many, many other countries over the last year. And the roots of these popular uprisings, they're almost always the same. Increasing tyranny by the ruling classes, increased financial inequality due to the system being rigged so heavily in the favor of the oligarchies in whatever country you want to apply it to. Bitcoin, it was launched as a direct challenge to the existing financial system. Money and power, the way it exists today, it's the old game. Bitcoin, it is the new game. The current system that we see is being maintained by printing money and selling entire generations into debt slavery. Bitcoin, it represents a titanic shift in monetary power. So let us not forget the Genesis block of Bitcoin. It said, Chancellor on the brink of second bailout for banks. Inherently political. So what will a sustained period of civil unrest mean for the United States? Probably nothing good. Such events sustained across a time frame of anything more than a few days at this scale, they will indeed affect the equity markets. I don't know, markets will probably go up on this news, but it's crazy. It's a whole different story. Because if it does start affecting the equity markets, you know what it means is that the government is going to need to print more money to bail out the markets again. So if it looks like they're going to go down, they're going to have to print more money so they go up. Most of that money will obviously end up in the hands of the oligarchs once again. A few more trillion for the oligarchs. Why not? Negative interest rates, they will likely be brought into play. It's already been talked about a lot. It's going to happen. Capital controls, they become increasingly likely as civil unrest continues. Most countries hit by civil unrest of this scale in the last year, they have almost all seen capital controls brought into place. It's going to be hard to get cash and things like that potentially if this continues. All of this increases the likelihood that we are in for the greatest economic depression of our lifetimes. This could be another major catalyst event on the road to making that happen. Now, this could be the time for Bitcoin to shine in a way in which Bitcoin has never shined before. Remember, Bitcoin is the peaceful revolution. You buy Bitcoin, you're checking out of this entire system. Or Bitcoin could get totally crushed as the markets implode. I'm leaning more towards the this is what Bitcoin was meant for side of the equation here, but how about you? Do you think that Bitcoin was actually made for a situation like this? Or do you think that this is all just a little too political and you're just here for the sick gains? Let me know about down below in the comment section. Anyway, those are just my 2 Satoshis. You will let me know your opinion on this or anything else in today's news video down below in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching today's video. As always, you are totally freaking awesome. So thank you so much for continuing to support the channel. Long live the blockchain. And peace out till next time.